Good afternoon. My name is Special Martinez, and we will be learning how to identify terrain features on a map. Before we get started on this class, I do want to go over the DD2977, the Deliberate Risk Assessment. The overall risk today is low. We are outside, so please watch out for any venomous snakes, rodents, or anything that can bite you or hurt you. Do not mess with the wildlife. If you see any wildlife, please move away, stay away, and do not mess with the wildlife, and they will not mess with you. If you see anything, don't hesitate to let one of the instructors know. We brought 2 5-gallon jugs of water. They will be located in the back of the classroom, and you were instructed to bring a water source as well. There will be a medic on standby. Sergeant Barnes will be in the back. If you guys have any concerns at all, do not hesitate to stop the class. We will index the class to take care of you guys. So please be careful out here. Alrighty, so today we'll be identifying terrain features on a map. The task number at hand is 071-Charlie Oscar Mike-101. We will be identifying the 5 major, 3 minor, and 2 supplementary terrain features on a map. The condition today: you are a squad member of a team in a field environment, and you have been directed to identify terrain features on a map. You have been given a 1 to 50,000 scale military map. The standard for this task is you must identify the 5 major, 3 minor, and 2 supplementary terrain features on a military map. Go over here. The map that you guys will be given, there will be 9 squares, and you must identify what terrain feature is inside that square. There are 9. There are 10 terrain features. There's 9 boxes. One of the boxes you will have to identify 2 of the terrain features within that box. You must receive a go on all 3 events. If you fail, you will have the opportunity to retrain. We have passed out maps to every single one of you, and you have the STP 21-1 SMCT Warrior Skills Level 1 book with you guys to follow along on this lesson today. You can turn to page 3-49 to 3-56 to follow along this class. Alrighty, to get started, please pay attention to this bottom box right here, the ridge line. All terrain features are derived from a complex landmass known as a mountain or a ridge line. The term ridge line is not interchangeable with the term ridge. So do not mix up ridge and ridge line. And I'll explain why. A ridgeline is a line of high ground, usually with changes in elevation along its top and low grounds on all sides, form which a total of 10 natural or man-made terrain features. So all 10 of these terrain features come from the ridgeline and from this mountain. And we will go into depth on all of these different terrain features. So the first one we'll be going over today is a hill. On each of these, there's going to be actually what you see when you get down and you're actually walking and going through the terrains, to make it a little bit easier to help you identify what you're actually looking for on a map so you can get a visual for some of you visual learners. So the first one we'll be going over is a hill. A hill is an area of high ground. From a hilltop, the ground slopes down in all directions. A hill is shown on a map by contour lines forming concentric circles. The inside is the smallest circle closed. The smallest circle closed is the hill. So if you look at these, how they're real constant circles, this is high ground making your way up to the top of the hill. So if you look at this hill right here, all of these contour lines right here are building its way up to the hill, and those are showing you the different grades until you get to the top of the hill. The next one we're going to be going over is a saddle. A saddle is a dip or low point between 2 areas of higher ground. A saddle is not necessarily the lower ground between 2 hilltops and may simply be a dip or a break along a level crest. If you're in a saddle, there are high grounds, 2 opposite directions, the lower ground and the 2 other directions. A saddle is normally represented as an hourglass. So if you look at this, you actually have 2 hills right here, and the saddle is the area between. So if you pay attention, you got U's and V's, then you got a flat area of where you can walk through, and it's more of a level ground, and then it dips back down on the other side. Next one we'll be going over is a valley. A valley is a stretched out groove in the land, usually formed by streams of river or has a course of running water through it. If standing in a valley, 3 directions offer high ground, while the 4th direction offers low ground. Depending on the size and where the person is standing, it may not be obvious that there is a high ground in the 3rd direction, but water flows from higher to lower ground. Contour lines forming a valley are either U-shaped or V-shaped. To determine the direction water is flowing, look at the contour lines. The closest end of the contour line, U or V, always points upstream or downstream towards high ground. So when you're looking at a valley on the map, this is a good thing to know in case you're looking for water source or you are stuck in the desert. But do mind, we are in Arizona. We do have a lot of valleys on our Arizona maps, and there's sometimes normally not water. But if you pay attention to the U's and the V's, the U's are pushing this way, and this is where the water's flowing down this valley. The next one we're going to be going over is a ridge. A ridge is a sloping line of high ground. If you're standing on the center line of a ridge, you will normally have low ground in 3 directions and high ground in 1 direction with varying degrees of slope. If you cross the river at the right angles, you will climb steeply to the crest and then descend steeply to the base. When you move along the path of the ridge, depending on the geographical location, there may be either almost unnoticeable slope or a very obvious incline. Contour lines forming a ridge tend to be U-shaped or V-shaped. The closer end of the contour line points away from the high ground. So actually the ridge kind of looks like a hill, so do not get these two confused. When you look at the ridge, you normally have longer U-shaped lines on it. It's not a circular thing. So on here is the ridge, and sometimes on a ridge you actually might have flat ground up there, and that's where these flat U contour lines are going. So just make sure you don't get a ridge and a hill confused. Alrighty, the last one we have for the 5 major will be a depression, and that's right here. A depression is a low point on the ground or a sinkhole. It could be described as an area of low ground surrounded by higher ground in all directions, or simply a hole in the ground. Usually one depression that are equal to or greater to than the contour levels will be shown. On map, depressions are represented by the closer contour lines, and then they'll have tick marks pointing towards the lower ground. They don't always have the tick marks pointing on there, just depending on how deep it is, but you can normally identify it from the different contour lines that are pushing into it. So those are the first 5 major terrain features. Now we'll be going over the 3 minor terrain features: a draw, a spur, and a cliff. A draw is a stream course that is less developed than a valley. In a draw, there is essentially no level ground, therefore little to no maneuver room within its confines. If you are standing in a draw, the ground slopes upwards in 3 directions and downwards in the other 3 directions. A draw could be considered as the initial formation of a valley. The contour lines depicted in a draw are U-shaped or V-shaped, pointing towards the higher ground. So like it said, the draw is somewhat like a valley, but draws are a lot more harsh to go past through. They're not as big as a valley, able to walk and maneuver through it. They're really condensed, and it's starting to form a draw, but it will take many thousands of years for it to fully become a valley. But just pay attention to the true valley and draw. You don't want to get them mixed up. If you're doing any type of operations to where you guys need to maneuver through a mountain range, you do not want to get a valley and a draw mixed up unless you want to go through some rough terrain. Then a draw is a good way to kind of get rid of someone. There's no motorized vehicle access because of how jacked up that terrain is. The next one we have is a spur. A spur is a short, continuous sloping line of higher ground, normally jolting out from the side of a ridge. A spur is often formed by 2 roughly parallel streams cutting down the side of a ridge. The ground will slope down in 3 directions and up 1. Contour lines on a map depict a spur with U or V pointing away from the high ground. So if you look at this, it actually kind of looks like multiple draws coming up to it. But just pay attention, you'll see on a hill, the real U and V-shaped contour lines of the mountain and the hill. And then you'll see multiple really sharp V's and U's forming the spur right here. The next one is actually a really important one. You're going to want to be able to identify a cliff. A cliff is a vertical or near vertical feature It is an abrupt change of the land. When a slope is so steep that the contour lines converge into that the contour lines coverage into one carrying contour of contours. The last contour line has tick marks pointing towards the lower ground, and some contour lines are very close together. So basically what that means is on some of the cliffs, you'll see these tick marks down there, and it's because the cliff's not a direct straight down cliff. There might still be an edge right here that you might be able to maneuver and get down. The other ones, the contour lines completely disappear. So you'll see the contour lines right here follow along the side of a hill, and then they all touch, and that's showing an immediate drop. So the top one you can kind of mitigate and crawl down the hill without major assistance or ropes and stuff. But this cliff right here is a complete drop down. So you're going to remember these two different types, because they are two different types of cliffs, and you're going to see these two on the map. The next two are going to be the supplementary terrain features. That's going to be right here, the cut and the fill. A fill is a man-made feature resulting from filling a low area, usually to form a level bed for a road or a railroad track. Fills are shown on a map when they are at least 10 feet high. They are drawn with the contour line along the fill line. The contour line exceeds the length of the filled area and has tick marks pointing towards the lower ground in the map scale permits. The next one is a cut. A cut is a man-made feature resulting from cutting through raised ground, usually to form a level bed for a railroad track or a road. Cuts are shown on the map and they are at least 10 feet high. They are drawn with contour lines along the cut line. So basically what you got to cut and fill. You'll see these a lot with railroads. When the railroads or the roads cut through mountains, you have the fill, and the fill is actually coming down and actually cutting into the earth, so you have a smooth way for the road or the railroad. And then the cuts are actually cutting into the mountain. So if you're right here, you have the fill away from the mountain cutting into the hill that it's going into to have a smooth road out. And the cut is when the road or the railroad track is actually going over the mountain, but they're cutting into it. And these are only major cuts, so 10 feet. Arizona, the new 202 freeway that we have, they actually did a lot of cut and fills into the mountains, so the freeway can pass through the mountains without having to go completely over them. All right, so those are the 10 terrain features on the map that you will be tested on. I'm going to do a full speed demo of the assessment. This will be the map that we will be using. I will do a full speed demonstration of what you will be tested on today, and then we will go into depth on exactly what I did to pass this assessment. Alrighty, I've went through this map and I've identified each terrain feature in each square. I will bring you guys a little bit closer so you can see what I did and you get an idea of what you're going to be graded on. Alright, so first we're going to go over the 5 major terrain features. The first 5 we're going to be going over is to identify a hill. So if you look at this box right here, I went through and I marked where the hill is. The next one we're going to be looking for is a saddle. So if you look at this demonstration right here, you can see the 2 mountaintops on there and identified where the saddle on that was. The next one we're going to be looking for is a valley. All right here you can see all the contour lines pushing away and it's forming this valley right here. The next one we're going to be going to is the ridge. So if you go to right here, you can see the top of the hilltop and you can see the ridge forming right here into this area with the U-shaped contour lines. Next one we will be identifying is a depression. right here. It's a little hard to see on the map, but this little square right here is a depression. The map is a little distorted, but those are tick marks. All right, now we're going to identify the 3 minor terrain features: the draw, the spur, and the cliff. Right here, if you're looking up, I put a mark on where the draw is actually going up into this mountain right here. And then we have identifying the spur right here. If you look at this mountain, you can see the different spurs going into right here. I just marked on where it was. And then the cliff. If you look right here, this is the other one, the other part of the cliff, not the one that's completely dropped down. If you look right here, this is where the cliff is formed. You can't really see it behind the star, but that's where the cliff is at. And then the last 2 is the cut and the fill. If you look right here, you can see the cut going up, cut into the mountains, and then it fills on the way back out, leaving the mountain. I believe that is a railroad track or a road. The map's a little distorted. You can't really see it as good. But that right there is your assessment and what you will be assessed on. All right, this is the time. You guys are each going to have 10 minutes to perform this task. Or excuse me, you guys are gonna have 10 minutes to train. If you guys have any questions at all, please feel to reach out. I can go around and help you. Our goal today is to have 100% go. 10 minutes has elapsed. Is everybody complete? Does everybody feel comfortable and ready to take this assessment? All right, so everybody is going to have 5 minutes to perform this task. I will be grading you using a DA 5164 hands-on evaluation, and this is what I'm going to turn into our leadership so you guys can get credit for taking this class today. So the first one up, and I will grade you. Okay, thank you. All 5 of the soldiers have went. We received a 5 out of 5. All of them are go. You guys are all considered trained. You have all passed this task. I will report the assessments to Staff Sergeant Scheller. Staff Sergeant Scheller, all 5 are a go and all are trained. All right, this is the conclusion. So can I get all the equipment that we passed out, all the books and the maps and the pencils? You can pass them to the right. My assistant will pick them up. All right, we will be conducting an after-action review. What was supposed to happen? Well, we'll go back to the, what was supposed to happen? We were supposed to identify the 5 major, 3 minor, and 2 supplementary terrain features on a map. And you guys are supposed to be assessed on these and be able to identify the terrain features on a map. What did happen? We identified the 5 major terrain features and 2 supplementary terrain features on a map, and we received a 5 out of 5, so the training was good. Everyone passed. Congratulations. Thank you, guys. Sustains. Okay. Okay. Thank you. And can I get some improvements, please? Okay. All right. All right. Well, I want to thank you guys very much. I appreciate the sustains and the improvements. I will jot down and I will get with the other instructors, and we will listen to what you guys said so we can improve the next class that we have. We're going to go over the risk assessment. There were no new risks identified. The controls were affected. I just want to thank Sergeant Barnes for being in the back and helping out to make sure that no one was a heat cat or no one got bit by any animals. All right, before we leave, let's do a police call. Let's pick up the trash. Let's leave this area like we weren't here before. Okay? There's trash bags located to the rear. We'll throw them in the vehicle before we exfil. Thank you, guys. All right. Sergeant, I'm going to call the talk to close out this training. This is Bushmaster 6-6. Training is complete. Requesting to close out the training. Roger. All right, the training site is closed. Thank you, everybody, for coming here today and participating in this class. You guys have a wonderful day, and congratulations on passing this task.